Content warning. This video is about lost media for a gore-filled horror series, and, ergo, some of the scenes depicted may be distressing to some viewers. Click off now if this isn't your thing.
Oh, now what? I suppose you're gonna show me. Oh, gee, that's very nice. Oh, what is this? Some kind of magic act?
Hello there! Playing Von Calm here with another video. This time covering a piece of lost media. Corpse Party is a pixel horror franchise dating back to the PC-98 era, produced by Makoto KEDWIN, aka KEDWIN. He's a VTuber now, by the way, check his stuff out. You play as a bunch of school kids who fly a bit too close to the occult sphere and get sucked into a creepy school. You then set off on a gore-filled journey trying to quell the restless spirits of tortured children so you can leave. The first game, Corpse Party, with a hyphen, was released on the 22nd of April 1996. It was eventually remade for Windows in the mid-2000s, and later the PSP and iOS around 2010. The PSP release is the most iconic, as it got a bunch of sequels and spin-offs, as well as attention from huge content creators, such as PewDiePie. However, what many don't know is it was meant to receive a sequel 12 years before then, Corpse Party 2, Satsuki's Heart. Recently, I got a comment on something I uploaded 6 years ago, which featured 2 tracks from this cancelled game. The user asked if I had any info, and unfortunately, I forgot most of it. I have a lot of history of this game, even tried to recreate it once, so I decided to go back down the rabbit hole and produce this video. Thanks to the unofficial Corpse Party Discord, and especially Dedpanek V7 and Moca, for providing me with additional sources to make this video truly great. Not much is known about Corpse Party 2. Many of the original sources are either lost to time or ambiguous, such as Life of Old Internet forums. However, many have also been preserved, largely thanks to the Wayback Machine, and this video aims to cover everything in full. The gameplay footage you'll see here is from the original PC-98 Corpse Party, in case you want an idea of what the game would have looked like. Corpse Party 2 was to be developed on the Tsukuru Dante RPG 98 engine, and was directed by Makoto KEDWIN once more. He asked Mao Hamamoto to produce 16-bit color character portraits, music, and backgrounds. However, by this point, the then-released Dante 2 engine was too limiting, and the graphics Hamamoto produced were deemed unsatisfactory, possibly due to the color limits. The music was left behind with the idea of waiting until RPG Maker 95 was released for Windows to realise the game's full potential. In the end though, NexusTarget ended up releasing a game called Neko no Mori no Torakichi instead, using RPG Maker 95. This would be the final game released by NexusTarget, with Team Gris succeeding the company around 1998. Corpse Party 2 was left behind. However, Mao Hamamoto would upload the OST for the game to his website in 2002. While that page is gone, the music can still be listened to, and links to it will be in the description. A demo of Corpse Party 2 was allegedly released, but it is currently considered to be lost media. Due to its age, it's likely that this will never be found. Regardless, someone who did have it posted a description of what was in the game in the early 2000s. The game is said to have begun with a new character called Satsuki, receiving a letter inviting her to an abandoned manor, Luigi's Mansion style. The letter ends with the ominous quote, "At midnight, the coffin of your heart will open and be offered up." Unlike Luigi's Mansion though, common sense having Yuka is there to advise Satsuki against taking the letter upon its invitation, telling her that chances are she isn't coming back as she goes in. 2 other new characters, Masumi and Rina, believe the letter is making a fool of them, and convince the group to go to the manor, presumably to teach Sandra a lesson. Once they enter, they are trapped and unable to escape. From the descriptions available, it appears that the original group of Corpse Party is present. Satoshi, Yuka's older brother, is said to have been the player's controllable character, who is followed by Yuka initially. She is slower than him though, so if you go too far ahead, she'll start crying out for him. Eventually, a long hallway is reached where control swaps to Yuka herself. After a while, she comes into contact with Satoshi, seemingly possessed, who says, "Yuka, your heart looks good. Let me eat it." The Corpse Party wiki has historically claimed Satsuki is the one who says this. However, the original source was in Japanese and specifically named Satoshi. The wiki simply had a typo. The poster then talked about the odd, seemingly fetishistic interpretation of the quote, calling it immoral, and rightfully so. After this quote, the screen turns red and shakes before the demo ends. The game had a few other details of intrigue. The variable used for gold had time written there instead, implying the game was set to have time-based events. Despite my previous joking comment, Corpse Party 2 does truly share some similarities with Luigi's Mansion's development stages. Both games feature a letter being given to an unwitting victim who gets trapped in a mansion, and both possess timer features. Perhaps there's some sort of curse here. It's definitely a coincidence though. Neither Makoto KEDWIN nor Mao Hamamoto is in the game's credits. It's likely that both games took inspiration from Resident Evil for PS1 and Sweet Home for the NES, the latter of whose gameplay can be seen all over the place. Resident Evil was released a month before the original Corpse Party, and the release date was actually written in-game. It's likely that Corpse Party 2 had gameplay heavily inspired by Resident Evil, as it pioneered early horror games and truly put the genre on the map. Outside of this, magic was said to be called Incantation instead. Another new character, Sugimura, was also said to exist, but the only thing we know about him is he was chivalrous. Finally, the character's portraits were drawn in a sepia tone instead of full colour. It's unknown if this applied to the whole demo, but it did apply in the original Corpse Party, so it's likely they just reused these. There are lots of vagaries after the initial events, as you can see, but it seems the demo was not widespread, given it hasn't been rediscovered yet. Despite its cancellation, Satsuki as a character will be reused eventually. She appeared in Corpse Party, Sweet Sachiko's Historic Birthday Party, sometimes known as Corpse Party 2U, being featured prevalently in its various satirical acts, albeit not being characterised too much. However, the others will be left behind. Satsuki will see another appearance in Corpse Party Blood Drive for the PlayStation Vita, where she sees ample expansion. In Corpse Party Blood Drive, Satsuki is the result of spiritual surgery, a cultish practice used by the Martyrbus Tomb group. Spiritual surgery, as a thing, is an expanded on outside of being essentially experimentation on human bodies. In one such experiment, two people, Satsuki Nekoma and Haruhi Mizuhara, were combined to form one Satsuki Mizuhara, inheriting the personality of the latter. This experiment also allowed Satsuki Mizuhara to split her head into a monster form with an insatiable appetite, wherein she'll eat whatever's in sight. This can only be controlled by another new character, Magari Mizuki. The monster form may have been derived from Parasite's The Maxim, which had a popular live-action adaptation aired a year before release. Satsuki seems to be ambivalent to a little unnerved by her monster nature, but the presentation is inconsistent. In Chapter 4, she playfully threatens to bite Misuto Kiriya, while in Chapter 8, after biting his head off and eating it, she is shown to be spitting and gagging afterwards, but doesn't really cry or anything. It does appear to be extremely tiring though, as she is left unconscious for the rest of the game. Her actual allegiance to Martyrbus Tomb isn't expanded upon either, with her shown to be subservient to Magari but with dubious willingness. The rest of the aforementioned lore is only expanded upon in her own exclusive chapter, named Satsuki's Heart, after the very cancelled game in this video. Whether the Satsuki in Blood Drive was intended for Corpse Party 2 is unknown. At the same time, it cannot be denied that at least some elements from the game were carried over in some capacity. Personally, I think the name and design would be what we expect, but everything else seems to be a touch out there. That's about all I have for this game. Don't leave just yet though! This video will not be complete without me mentioning that a fan creation of this game is on the way. Moca has been working on it with a few others for quite a while, and it looks absolutely beautiful. I'll leave a link to their Twitter page for description so you can keep track of its development. Why not join the Corpse Party Discord while you're at it? This was Plague Von Karma, and I'll see you all next time.